It's one of my favorite quotes from the study is, uh, like a kilt isn't a skirt. It doesn't have construction. It doesn't have cutting or a pattern like a skirt. It's just one single 6 to 8 foot piece of cloth that's basically origamied and stitched, right? And it always has been that because the great kilts, the old kilts were just a piece of fabric that someone wrapped around themselves and belted, and that's where the pleats came from. And yeah, the SVQ, it is super important because a lot of the training was unofficial for a long time. A lot of training just happened where and a lot of kilt makers have gotten into the line of work by happenstance. They lose their job and they're looking for a job and they meet someone and they just get into it. And the firms, are good at training people, but what firms tend to do, which is interesting, is they disconnect skills, which I mean, they don't want people to come and train to know the whole process so they can't go start their own firm. So they actually have their training focusing on particular parts and they separate the parts so that someone can't replicate the process from beginning to end. So it's kind of like a protectionist thing. So the SVQ is interesting because obviously the firms had input into the creation of the SVQ and kilt makers did as well. But what the SVQ does is it really formalizes the training into specific parts, including the business side. So really the whole training starts off with how do you fill out order forms? How do you balance books? It is like a business course too.
Mhm.
And it proceeds to how do you set up a workroom? What is the organization? What are the safety measures of a cutting room? And then finally, you get into the actual nuts and bolts of learning the process of kilt making. And these are actual college
College
level
level.
degrees that you're
Yeah.
getting when you get the SVQ. SVQs go all the way up to, I think, a doctoral level.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Yes. And I think we had a note in here about the kind of process, which is one of the kilt makers at the kilt school in the Highlands put it best. She said, you learn the basics, and it's almost like reverse learning where the actual process you're learning by first doing alterations. So you're
Mhm.
actually starting with the finished garment first and taking it apart and putting it and
Mhm.
seeing the guts of it and then putting it back together, which gives the learner